Okay, I'm Shelia McGuiness, Wall. I came here in 1971 and graduated from ISKL in 1973. Kuala Lumpur was the first and last overseas assignment that my father was given. I had gone to a Catholic school starting from grade 1 and left in my junior year to come to Kuala Lumpur. Dad came home in February of 1971 and said, "How would you all like to move to Malaysia?" And, in 1971, the world wasn't as flat as it is today. And we're like, "Excuse me?" So we immediately took out a globe and we circled the globe. And it was kind of hard to find KL, but we managed to find it. And Dad said, the wonderful thing was that Dad said, if you and Dana don't want to go, I'll just tell SO we're not going. And so he really left it up to my brother and I. My older brother Ken and Monica were already in college, so they really weren't as much into the decision-making process. But actually, I was very excited to go. Catholic school was never quite the fit for me. And I was actually dying to get out of also the town that I lived in. So this was an opportunity, that a lot of juniors in high school would find to be a crisis. I was just like, yeah. So Dad actually had to go over in March and leave us behind to let us finish up school. And so we came over here actually we got here in July. It was my first time on an airplane. So we went through Europe for 6 weeks. Dad took the opportunity to take the whole family of 6 of us through Europe for 6 weeks. And so we got a crash course in taking a lot of flights and starting the journey that ended up getting us to Kuala Lumpur. And I immediately made friends here. I had very few friends in Long Island. And all of a sudden, all these people were opening their arms to me. And I just felt very safe and, I just felt wanted and accepted right away. And the next thing I knew, we were like a group of 30 people that tended to pretty much, you had to make your own fun here. There was nothing established in the school, no after-school clubs, or I did end up actually playing basketball for 1.5 years here. And that was the other thing. In Catholic school, you barely take gym. So there was no way as a girl going to Catholic school that I was ever going to play a sport. So when I came over here, I was like, basketball, volleyball, field hockey, bring it on, bring it on. And that got me really involved in the team sport, experience that has been also invaluable in the business world and things like that. So I just had such positive experiences that first year. I will say that of those 30 people, about 20 of them left in 1972. And all of a sudden, so many of my friends had left. And we used to always say, we spent so much time at the airport saying goodbye to friends. That was a little bit of the sad part. But my senior year was a little bit more difficult, a little bit more lonely. And I found that the prep work that so many kids, I think now in the international school system, as well as having put both my kids through college, that kind of support that somebody referred to before was not there. I found myself SATs. What are those? And I didn't realize the importance of the SATs. And so I didn't necessarily, I applied to 2 colleges. Nobody told me you're supposed to have a safety school. So, it was Smith. I wanted to go to Smith. Well, guess what? University of New Hampshire and Smith. And I didn't get into either one. So I was a little bit beside myself of not having a college to go to when I got back. But I did manage, actually, very abruptly over that summertime of '73 to apply to St. Bonaventure. So I found myself back in a Catholic school. Oh, my God. And it was up near Buffalo. So I think these transitional components, we were really the pioneers. And, it's made me just, I think, very flexible. Like change is that whole concept of rising to the, occasion of change, that living here really gave me a good foundation for that, and has been invaluable. And I also found that, as a lot of people have talked about, with respect to, especially going to a Catholic college, I was like, I might as well have been from friggin' Venus. I was like, they were speaking English, and I was speaking English, but that we weren't communicating. So I actually ended up transferring to Penn State University, and I felt that was truly a global village, and I felt like I was a little bit closer to finding a home for myself. While I was here, I just, friendships that I still have very close friends that we see each other annually. Unfortunately, my two best friends, Jeanette Smith and Elizabeth Greathouse, could not be here to join us, but I say hi. And so that's basically my experience. I think that there's a lot more support systems now. I'm getting a sense that the administration here really understands how important it is to transition the kids as they go back to the United States, and what are some of the even support systems that they can give them once they are back in the States. That's so important. So I think that's a real positive change in the structure. I will say, somebody also talked about the teachers not being quite up to high standards, and I found that difficult because I had come from a Catholic school that was it was a Jesuit-based school, and it was very difficult. It was very challenging, and when I came here, school was kind of almost sometimes it was an afterthought. I really learned so much from being in this culture, and all the traveling that I did go on. My high school senior trip was to India, and that just opened up a whole other world to me too. And I really think that the greatest impact of having lived in another country is your acceptance, or at least for me, my acceptance of people from all cultures in the world. And I found that very helpful in business because I did work very early on in my early 20s in the international insurance business. And I used to have to deal with 36 countries. And I felt that, I don't speak another language, but as far as understanding their needs and their culture, that was seamless for me because of my experience here, going to school with so many different people from so many different countries. And I know that you have 60 countries represented here. I think that we had fairly similar number of countries represented back then, and that was just invaluable.
Great. Do you want to talk at all about bringing your kids back with you this time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a funny story about that. Obviously, I think we probably all suffer from this, is that they've heard about Malaysia ad infinitum. And also, it comes up in conversations with people like, I don't know how, but all of a sudden, you'll meet a stranger, and the next thing you know, you're talking about Malaysia. It's like, that was 35 years ago. Why are you still bringing this up? And they'd be with me from the time that they were, they could understand language. They'd be with me, hearing me, I'm a fairly open person, and they'd be hearing me talk about Malaysia. So then it became Mom's talking about the end stuff, And so the thing was when we talked about coming here, and we figured somehow we could make this work to bring them bring them to Malaysia with and my husband for this reunion. I said, if I ever hear you say, Mom's bringing up the M word, you're not coming. So they haven't said it for a year. We'll have to see what happens when we go back home.